In response to the diphtheria epidemic of 1925, the Serum-run sled dogs ran through the toughest conditions on Earth to save the tiny mining town of Nome. This resulted in the conjunction of Alaska's vast community and the changing of dog sledding forever. In late December of 1924, Dr. Curtis Welch was called to the home of a small Inuit family on the Sandspit near Nome, Alaska. Their child was sick with what appeared to be tonsillitis. The little girl would not live to see the new year. Dr. Welch diagnosed several more children with similar symptoms, but the gray mucus in the back of the children's throats was a deadly reality check. Nome has been struck with diphtheria, an airborne and highly contagious respiratory disease. On January 22, 1925, Dr. Welch sent out a telegram. An epidemic of diphtheria is almost inevitable here. Stop. I'm in urgent need of 1 million units of diphtheria antitoxin. Stop. Mail is the only form of transportation. Stop. And icebound Nome stood no chance at facing the immense epidemic that was upon them. The only serum they had expired over 6 years prior and was left unusable. The Alaskan governor located 300,000 units of diphtheria antitoxin in Anchorage, over 500 miles away. Sub-zero conditions made the trip by open cockpit airplane deadly. The serum would have to travel by land. Alaskan railroads could take the serum as far as Nenana, a town near Fairbanks. From there on, it was up to the sled dogs to use their perseverance and determination to run the serum to Nome. On January 27th, the serum left to Nenana along the Yukon River with musher Bill Shannon directing the team. Each leg of the race varied from 20 to 50 miles between each handoff point. The only stops were made to warm the frozen serum for 20 minutes. Then the dogs and musher would return to running on the trail. Many mushers pushed the dogs dangerously through the conditions, risking the dogs' lives and the safety of the serum. Over the next 5 days, the serum was swiftly passed off from musher to musher, while in Nome, Dr. Welch struggled with the alarming amount of new cases developing. The condition of the patients was deteriorating rapidly, and he had no choice but to use the expired serum. It did no good, and the infected continued to die. On the trail, famed musher Leonard Seppala raced to get to the handoff point. His lead dog, Togo, was a racing dog, the best Seppala had ever had. He had the difficult choice of whether he should go around Norton Sound or run straight across the ice, which could break at any moment. Seppala chose to run across the frozen bay, which broke up just a few hours later. It was the most dangerous part of the serum run. On February 2, 1925, musher Gunnar Casson raced his dog team down Main Street in Nome ahead of schedule. He handed the serum to Dr. Welch, frozen solid. He then went and collapsed in front of his lead dogs, Box and the famous Balto. Altogether, 20 mushers and over 200 dogs had run 674 miles in 5.5 days. The remaining 30 cases of diphtheria were cured, and the population of 1,600 people was saved.
Because back then, we think, why use dogs? We could go by plane, or we could take the train, or something like that. Well, no. If you're going to go anywhere, there's only 2 ways in the winter, and that's to either 1, walk, or 2, take a dog team.
Sled dogs had been used for centuries by natives of the Alaskan tundra. The stamina and durability of the Siberian Husky was the reason they put them to work transporting goods and mail. Their ability and willingness to run made them the ideal leader in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. The dogs ran through freezing temperatures as low as 70 degrees below zero. These conditions are life-threatening. Being in these temperatures freezes skin, and the blood in your system begins to coagulate. Snow and ice would work its way into a dog's paw, which would cripple the dog and slow the team. Many dogs died because they ran for so long. While on the trail, there was little to no visibility. Mushers admit to not being able to see the trail or the dogs at all during their legs of the race.
Dogs, because they're animals, have certain instincts that mushers don't have. Sometimes the dogs know which way to go. They know where the trail is going and the mushers can't even see.
Sled dogs are some of the best leaders in the world. Mushers look for many qualities in their dogs that help them along the trail. The dogs not only have to be committed and obedient, but loyal to the musher and the team, observant for obstacles along the trail, and persistent. The dog has to want to run and enjoy doing it at the same time. And what is most inspiring is that the dogs are smart enough to know that they don't have to run. Even today, mushers will experience the dog that doesn't want to go any further. Along the trail, the conditions were far worse than what they race in today. The leadership of the dogs persevered through the storm, and what is most fascinating is that dogs didn't have to run, yet they continued on.
Every dog team that got to Nome got there because of the leaders. And you don't go anywhere with a dog team. You don't have somebody out in front.
The Serum Run was the last major dog transport relay. After the run, the Alaskan governor succeeded in getting more planes to fly to the remote towns out on the Alaskan frontier. The race made Alaska, which is 663,300 square miles, seem so much smaller. The sense of community was brought to the towns of Alaska. This gave them a sense of unity, and many of those remote towns are still there today. After the Serum Run, dog sledding became more of a recreation than a necessity. It was still used and an effective method of transportation, but Alaskans did not want to have to use the dogs in these harsh conditions. The weather the dogs ran in 1925 claimed many of their lives. Though the exact number of deaths is not recorded, it is known that at least 4 dogs died within the first few legs of the race. Many of the dogs that ran in the Serum Run would never have to face those harsh conditions again. In late May of 1925, the story of the sled dogs was brought to Hollywood and the film became an instantaneous hit. America was obsessed with the dogs and the success of the Serum Run. The movie inspired Casson and his team to tour the United States. Later in 1995, the story of the Serum Run was brought yet again to America. Universal Studios presented the animated tale of sled dogs saving Nome. Children today still adore the story of the sled dogs who ran in the Serum Run. In loving memory of the Inuit dog sledding tradition, Alaska started holding the annual Iditarod sled race, which is a commemoration of the freight route to Nome. It started in 1973, and over 60 dog sledding teams participate each year. This race, along with others worldwide, is an amazing way of representing the importance of dog sledding in history.
Their legacy, I suppose, is a historical account of what they've done. Of course, they had very difficult conditions, which, as you read the accounts of it, were extreme, and yet they managed to push through. I do believe that those dogs were some of the very best dogs. It took a lot of confidence and a lot of courage on their part to make it through those conditions, and it's really a remarkable thing that they did.
Nome had been saved by the leadership of the Serum Run sled dogs. The dogs were the only means of transportation, and they succeeded in getting the antitoxin to Nome. Their willingness and spirit led through the blizzard when the mushers couldn't. Without the sled dogs, Nome would have perished, and the vast community of Alaska wouldn't exist like it does today. The legacy of the Serum Run lives through the dogs who continue the tradition of dog sledding. And because of the Serum Run nearly a century ago, dog sledding is, and forever will be, a tradition of the Alaskan tundra.